Good day, students. Let me welcome you to the presentation of our English Module 2 called English 11, English 12. And I know most of you are also doing English 11. Let me welcome you to the second module. We're already done with our presentation for the first module. Okay, I am Gesias Uwanga. There it's my telephone number, my cell phone number, my email address. You can contact me on my cell phone after hours, after 5, and you can text me anytime during the day, and then I will come back to you when I get time. I advise you to text instead of calling. Text is more safer than calling because I have some other schedules, and the probability is very high that I might not pick your phone when you call. But if you text, once I get time, I'll text you back. All right. We have our 3 prescribed books that we are using in this module. You must have them. One is your study guide. I learned that most of you have this one on your soft copy. Make sure that you read it, you go through it from the first module of the first unit to the last one. The Latin one, this one is more on literature. It's where you find the content about poetry and other related literature part. Okay, we move on. The general knowledge of the subject. This one is just to take you through our subject. What is the purpose of this module? What are we learning from this module? Number 1, not everything is covered here, but the key sections. The key sections are covered here. What are we learning from this module? Literal work, which is divided into 3 genres. And they are like the novel part, the drama part, the poetry. These are the things that are covered under this module. You are learning about the literature, literal part or literal section, which is now in the other book, which is written by Latrin and Pincus. Now, if you are saying, we say, what is this literal work? What are they? I have just mentioned them as they are listed here, and let's define them then. Drama. When you are talking about drama, what do we mean? So it's referred to as it's indicated there. Understand it. And there are 4 types of drama. What are they? We have the tragedy, the comedy, and others. Know what are the 4 types of drama. Let's move now to the novel part as one of the literal work. The novel refers to the fiction written as prose. It tends toward folk tales, myth, and others. So you must understand what a novel is and what type of writing work that we can refer to as that they are novels. There are now elements of drama. We are still busy with drama and novel. There are elements of drama in novels And these elements of drama and novels, they are not far from each other. Let me say the characteristic or the structure is not far from each other. All of them, they have a plot, they have characters, setting, theme, and so forth. As it's indicated here, they have almost the same elements. And as you are reading now, as you are preparing for the examination, let's know the elements, these elements of drama and novels. Know what are the characters, know what is setting, what is the structure in our literary work. Perhaps you might meet that it comes that you will be given a sort of a prose or a sort of a text, a short story, and you will be asked to read it and identify out the plot, the characters. So you might meet that type of question where you are given a short story and being asked to identify the elements of that literary work. And if you don't understand what a plot, what character or setting and others, what does it mean, you won't be able to identify them from a story. So let's read and understand this literary work. I said the book, it's a red and yellow book, which is written by Latin and Pinicus. It's one of a prescribed book. Let's have it, read it. It helps us to understand all this. Okay. We have now the part of speech. Part of speech. There are different parts of speech in language, and here are the examples. They are more, and these are just examples of some of them, but there are more than this. We have like nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives. Know what are the nouns. Nouns, these are the things that we teach in our class every day. Every English teacher in every grade teach this one. They are being taught from grade 1. Nouns, we know what a noun is. Verb and so forth. Naming words. These are action words. Let's know what are the parts of speech and be able to give examples. For example, you say nouns are naming words for examples, and then list at least 2. Okay, we are in the language part where we are again talking about direct and indirect speech. Direct and indirect speech. What is direct speech? When we are talking about the direct speech, is when the person is quoting exactly what the speaker has said. If you are saying it straight from the mouth of the speaker, that one is the direct speech. And it's usually placed inside of the quotation mark. And accompanied by a quoting verb. That one is, we are not talking about the direct speech. Know what is the direct speech and what is indirect speech. Here we just talked about the direct one, where you quote exactly what the speaker has said, exactly as it is. That one is the direct speech. Let's see what is indirect speech. Okay, I did not include it here in our slide, what indirect speech, but you must also understand the difference between, so that you cannot confuse. Even it's not part of our presentation, know what it is, so that you can be able to differentiate them and make no mistake that you, instead of a direct, if maybe the question is about the direct one and then you give me the indirect one. But most importantly, I want you to understand what a direct speech is and how it's being written. I will not ask you to define it. There is no ways that I can ask you to define it, but the possibility might come that you will be asked to change a certain sentence from indirect to direct speech, or from direct speech to indirect speech. Okay, thank you. Now, that one was just a general content of our subject. Let's move then to the specific learning outcome. By saying specific learning outcome, I like using the word critical. These are the critical part of our presentation for today. And there is no ways that you can say that you have prepared for the examination and you don't understand this specific learning outcome. The moment you have understand everything under specific learning outcome, one can say, yes, you are ready for your examinations. Okay. Make sure that you understand properly the following learning objectives. We talked about the elements of literature. Know that you understand the element of literature. You can remember we just talked about them under the general knowledge of the subject. Teaching English language in context. Teaching English language in context, we'll talk about this one in the coming slides. Just highlight that one. We'll talk about it. Use the usage of song as a language learning tool. How can you use the song as a teacher to teach your learners a certain skill in language? Understand of verbs and adverbs. Understand the adverbs and adjectives. Ways of teaching new language structure. How to analyze a poem. Characteristics of cartoons. Those are the specific outcomes. We are still under specific learning outcome. The direct and indirect speech. The importance of planning a lesson and the stage of a lesson plan. Method of choosing a literature. These methods of choosing literature. Let me say you are choosing reading books for your learners. Maybe storybooks. What do you look at? What are those guides? What are those characteristics that will guide you to choose to conclude that this one is the best reading book for my learners? That is how it's all about. How to use different teaching aids. Principles used to assess learners effectively. Those are the specific learning outcomes. Now we are starting now with breaking down what is have said in the specific learning outcome. Let's start with the benefit of literature to the learners. What are the benefits literature has to the learners? Okay, here are some few points. It builds the experience. Okay, go find out the benefits of literature to the learners and add to the points that are given there, the 3 points that are given there, and make sure that you understand it and you are familiar with everything under that heading. Ways of developing love of reading in our learners. Okay, this one is across. What are those ways that you can use to develop love of reading in your learners? Problem-based learning. What is a problem-based learning? These terms, or let me say this content is in your guide, and it's a lot of information under this section. I want you to go to your guide and understand the difference between problem-based learning and other learning methods that are listed there, but most importantly, focus on the problem-based one. What is a problem-based one? How can we see that this method that is being used here is a problem-based one. Here are some points that I have just highlighted for you, but I advise you to go and read and understand what is this topic is all about, the problem-based learning. What can we see just for us to conclude that this teacher in this class that I have just observed, I was observing a certain teacher in a class, and I can say this teacher was using the problem-based learning in her presentation. What are the characteristics of problem-based learning? Okay, the advantages of whole group discussion. The whole group discussion, one can say maybe it's also group work. What are the advantage or the benefit? What learners learn benefit from being taught in a whole group work or in a whole group discussion? What are the benefits? Have enough points for the marks that you see that are indicated there. Those are the critical part. You can also, it can also enhance your skill. When you go to your class and teach, you know what method you can use, which will benefit your learners, where one of them can be maybe the whole group discussion. Okay, factors to consider when selecting literature. I have just mentioned there that there are some approach or methods that one can use to conclude that this is the best book, reading book or literature book for my learners. Here are some points that I have just highlighted for you. Go research more, go read more in your study guide, have a detailed understanding about this section, but I have highlighted some few points for you. Make sure that you understand them. The synonyms and antonyms. These are the things that we teach to our learners every day. The antonyms and the synonyms. Please know how to perhaps to just understand them. You don't know how the question will come, but have concrete understanding about the synonyms and the antonyms. The translation, have understanding on those one. The context, all these ones I just have listed them in here because I want you, when you are reading, not to pass by just reading I want you to have an understanding on them. Read them and understand them and be able to express yourself when it comes to these terms. They are part of our language part. Okay, ways to assist learners who cannot read. Learners who cannot read, what are the activities? What should we do with them so that we can assist them and be able to read? Here are some few points, but I know you are doing a lot in your classes. Tell us, those are the things that I want you to highlight for us, how you can assist them, those ones that are struggling to read. Okay. As I said earlier on the specific learning outcomes. The specific learning outcome, hope I touched everything. Make sure that you understand properly the following learning objectives. The elements of literature, we talked about it. We have the novels, drama, that really I want you to focus on. Make sure that you understand them and their subsection also. We have teaching English language in context. This, as we said, this is the way when you are teaching language in context, you are not teaching them in isolation. Let me say you are teaching verbs. You are teaching verbs. You are not just giving learners a list of verbs and ask them to memorize them. So you put them in a certain context where you have used them in sentences, or maybe you have a full story where you have used verbs and they are highlighted for the learners. That is what we mean by teaching language in context. And then you start your lesson presentation from there. Teaching language in context is just to have your language in a certain form of context where learners can be able to identify them, but not giving them in isolation, just in a list form, and then learners don't understand what it's all about. Okay, use the song as a language learning tool. This one is now to say perhaps you are teaching new words that you want to focus on. And learners nowadays like songs. You can maybe create your own song and put your new words in there that you want your learners to master, and you teach them through a song. That one is now what it means by using a song as a language learning tool. It's just to use a song to teach your learners a certain part of language, or a certain skill of language. Understand adverb. We have already talked about the adverbs and the adjectives. I hope you understand those ones. Ways of teaching new language structures. This is just to explain what are the ways that you have in place. How can you teach new vocabulary, new languages to your learners? What are those methods that you use? Some are just part of our presentation here. In your study guide, there are also a lot. How to analyze a poem. By analyzing a poem, you might have a poem given for you there, and you're being asked to either maybe to give the rhyming scheme, or asked to give some other structures of a poem from that poem. So that is what it says by analyzing a poem. It's not really that you have to go in detail, but there will be some questions. The poem might be given for you, and there'll be some questions that are asking you just to give some parts of a poem, to answer some questions from the poem which is given already for you. The characteristic of a cartoon. We have some study guide, some learning materials that are listed there. There are some characteristics of a cartoon, or else you can get them from other resources. But understand this is cartoons, and there are some specific characteristics of them. You must know them and be able to give them, or to answer question when it comes in that way. The direct and indirect speech, we already explained this one for you. The importance of planning a lesson. Why do we need to plan our lesson? Every day that we go to class, we have our lesson. What is the benefit of that? So that is all about. We talked about the method of choosing literature, how to use different teaching aids. So how to use different teaching aids. There are teaching aids that will be listed. For example, a television. You'll be given television, and then you have to explain now. If you are given this television, how can you use it in your English lesson? What are the activities? What are the procedures that you follow to use that specific teaching aid in your English lesson? Yes, we use, there are a lot of different teaching aids. This television is just an example for you, but just understand what are the teaching aids that one can use in English lesson. And once it comes up, you know how to explain how to use it. I'm aware all of us are teachers. We have experience. We know how to use teaching aids in our lesson, or else our book, which is written by Thompson, have more on the teaching methods, and the teaching aids are also there, and the explanations are there on how to use them. principles used to assess learning effectively. When we are assessing your learners, when you are giving marks to your learners, what are those principles that you use? What are those principles that you use when you are assessing your learners? Yes, our Thompson, which is about teaching methods, have some principles that are in there. Read it and understand them, and perhaps if the question pops up, you know how to tackle it. Okay, dear students, we have touched more important information in our guide, and perhaps also some few questions that we need to know for our examinations when we are preparing for our examinations. As I said, when you are preparing for examination, the way the exam paper is structured, it's not far from the way your assignment is structured, because the assignment is prepared in the way that it can also guide you on your examination. Read your assignment question, understand your assignment question, and if there is something that you don't understand in your assignment, you can ask me, that I can also assist you. But the moment you understand your assignment questions, then you will not struggle much to answer your examinations questions. Yes, that's all about our presentation, English Module 2. Let's have a blessed day. Thank you.